few months ago, a patient came into my office feeling frustrated. She was in her late 60s, sharp as a tack, ran her own small business, and took her health seriously. But she was confused. Her latest lab results looked great. In fact, her doctor was thrilled. Her LDL cholesterol was 50. He practically gave her a high five and told her, "Whatever you're doing, keep it up." But she looked at me and said, "If everything looks so good, why don't I feel good?" She had fatigue that no amount of coffee could touch, along with brain fog that was making it hard to keep up with her work. She trusted her doctor. She believed that lower cholesterol was always better, but her body was telling her something different. When I looked closer at the research, especially at the real-world data, I found something that completely changed the way I looked at this. A massive 2024 study found that an LDL below 50 was associated with a higher risk of death compared with a more moderate LDL. So I explained that an LDL of 50 wasn't automatically the good news she had been led to believe. And here's what happened next. I'm Dr. Matt Mason. I'm a chiropractor, acupuncturist, and functional medicine practitioner. I take a root cause approach, which means I look at the whole person, not just the one number on a lab report. In this video, I'm going to show you why the conventional lower is always better message may not tell the whole story, and why that matters, and what you can do about it. By the end, you'll understand why a number your doctor celebrated might deserve a closer look, and you'll have a clear next step you can take. Most people have been told that cholesterol is the enemy, and that the lower your LDL goes, the better. By conventional standards, my patient's LDL of 50 couldn't have looked much better. But if her number was so perfect, why did she feel so awful? So when a patient tells me something feels off, I listen. The human body is more complex than one number on a lab report. I wanted to go beyond the usual summaries and see what the real-world data actually showed. A 2024 study published in Scientific Reports followed more than 2.1 million patients with coronary artery disease for 15 years. This is a massive amount of real-world data. The researchers found a U-shaped curve between LDL and the risk of death. In other words, the lowest risk wasn't at the very bottom or the very top. It was somewhere in the middle. People with an LDL below 50 had a 14.4% higher risk of dying from any cause compared with those whose LDL was between 100 and 129.9. People with an LDL above 130 also had higher risk. In this study, the lowest risk appeared in that middle range of 100 to 129. Another study from the University of Oxford analyzed more than 217,000 older adults. It found that very low LDL was linked to a 39% higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease and a 27% higher risk of dying from it. These findings challenge the oversimplified idea that lower is always better. Now you may be wondering, if very low LDL can be associated with higher risk, why am I always told to get it as low as possible? And that's a fair question. The idea began with a real connection. High cholesterol is associated with heart attacks. The problem came when that connection was treated as perfectly linear, as though lowering LDL a little was helpful, so lowering it as far as possible must be even better. Think about it this way. If 1 glass of water is good for you, that doesn't mean 10 gallons is even better. At some point, more stops being helpful and starts becoming harmful. That same principle can apply to cholesterol. Another problem is taking an average from a large population and turning it into a universal target for every person. Population data can be helpful, but it doesn't automatically tell us what is best for every individual. You're more than a statistic. Your genetics, physiology, lifestyle, and life circumstances all shape what is right for you. To understand why an LDL of 50 could be problematic, we also need to understand what cholesterol actually does. Cholesterol isn't just a waxy substance that clogs arteries. It's a vital molecule your body uses for many essential functions. Your brain contains about 20% of your body's cholesterol. Cholesterol is also the raw material your body uses to make hormones. such as testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. And every cell in your body uses cholesterol to build its cell membrane, which helps that cell communicate with the rest of your body. So when cholesterol is driven extremely low, you may be interfering with some of those essential building blocks. The brain is especially sensitive because the blood-brain barrier keeps many substances out. The brain has to manufacture its own cholesterol. So when that process is disrupted, it may affect the way the brain functions. And that gave us a possible explanation for the fatigue and the brain fog my patient was experiencing. The next question was, how did her LDL get down to 50? In her case, she was taking a high-intensity statin. Statins can be valuable, especially for someone at immediate risk of a heart attack or a stroke. But in my opinion, they are often prescribed too quickly and too aggressively without enough attention to how the patient feels or to possible downstream effects. The problem wasn't that her doctor was a bad person. The system had focused so heavily on reaching a target number that it overlooked what the person behind that number was experiencing. That's where my root cause approach differs. Instead of first asking, which drug can I prescribe, I want to ask what is causing this person's physiology to be out of balance. I follow what I call the natural order of interventions. First, remove obstacles to healing, things like processed foods, environmental exposures, chronic stress, and poor sleep. Second, support the body with better nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress management. Third, look for nutrient deficiencies and other imbalances that may be affecting how the person feels. That's where targeted testing and the right supplements may help. And then, when needed, use medications and procedures thoughtfully, not automatically as the first answer for everything. So how did we help my patient move forward? First, we had an honest conversation. I explained the U-shaped curve, showed her the data, and validated that her symptoms were real. Second, we looked at her diet, stress, and sleep, and found areas that needed support. Third, we addressed an overlooked piece of the puzzle, coenzyme Q10 or CoQ10. Statins work by blocking an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase, which the liver uses to produce cholesterol. But that same pathway is also involved in producing CoQ10. CoQ10 is critical for cellular energy production. The mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside your cells, depend on it to produce energy efficiently. So when statins lower CoQ10, those power plants may not work as efficiently. That can mean less energy and more oxidative stress, especially in high-energy tissues such as your heart, your brain, and your muscles. This may show up as fatigue, muscle pain, weakness, brain fog, or memory problems. And she worked with her prescribing doctor to reevaluate her statin dose. The results took time, but gradually the brain fog cleared, the fatigue lifted, and her energy came back. Her numbers also settled into a healthier middle range. Eventually, she was able to come off the statin altogether. So here's the most important thing to remember. Your cholesterol number is not your health. It's one piece of a much larger picture. Your symptoms matter. Your energy, your thinking, and your overall well-being matter. Those are the things we should be improving, not just a number on a lab report. So if you're concerned about your cholesterol or your medication, here's what I recommend. First, ask better questions. Don't just ask, is my number good? Ask, is this number right for me? Ask about the possible downsides of pushing your LDL extremely low and whether lifestyle changes could be considered before adding more medication. Second, look at the whole picture. Consider a comprehensive lab panel that includes inflammation markers, not only the standard lipid numbers. Also, look honestly at your diet, stress, sleep, movement, and other foundational factors. Third, address nutrient status. If you take a statin, talk to your doctor about CoQ10 and whether supplementation may be right for you. Fourth, build a healthcare team that works together. You don't have to reject conventional medicine to take a functional approach. Look for practitioners who are willing to communicate. And remember that you're at the center of your healthcare team. And before I wrap up, I want to make one thing very clear. If you're taking a statin or any other medication, don't stop taking it without speaking with your prescribing doctor. That can be dangerous. The goal is to not reject medication. The goal is to use it thoughtfully, appropriately, and with a clear understanding of both the benefits and the risks. This isn't about choosing sides. It's about finding what works best for you as an individual. Your health is more than a number on a lab report, and your body is not a statistical average. It's a complex, intelligent system that deserves to be supported as a whole. So if your LDL is at the extreme low end and you're experiencing fatigue, brain fog, muscle pain, or other changes, it's worth having a conversation with your doctor and getting another opinion if needed. Ask, is this number truly right for me? You are your own best advocate. And if you got value from this video, please hit subscribe. I'm Dr. Matt Mason. My goal is to help you look beyond the numbers and understand what your body actually needs to function at its best. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.